This is Casper de Nora, and you're watching the Chat with Chaps live show.
Good evening and welcome to the Chat with Chaps Midweek live show. I'm your host, Joe Zampa, and today I'm joined by two regular panelists. First of all, Disco Steve and Jesper. How are you doing, guys? You good?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, good to be back on. Counting the days until the fixture list is released next week.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
That's it. It'll be here before we know. We just need something to sort of talk about, don't we? Really, it's just getting a bit quiet. No transfers, no fixture list released yet. So soon that comes, the better. How you doing, Disco? You good?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Joe. Good to be on. Looking forward to tonight's show. So, and like Jesper says, this time is it Wednesday? Is it next Wednesday? They come out the fixtures. So
Thursday. I think it's the 26th.
Thursday. Right. Yeah. So. Counting down the days, it'll be interesting to see how they all pan out.
Absolutely. So we've got very, very special guests, guys. For the guys watching on socials or reading on socials earlier, you know who's going to be coming on shortly. So I'm really excited about this one. Before we bring him in, we'll say very, very quick hello to the chat. The first one through the door is Karl Bracey. How you doing, Cole? Jeff Chandler, good evening. Friend of the show. How are you, mate? Chris, how are you? Chris Brown, evening all. Jeff, how are you? You good? Alex S, bang on time again. Every time lately, I'll tell you what. Wall Lion, evening one and all. Husey, good evening. Good evening, Lions Roar. Hello, Oscan. Andrew Cahill's through. Andrew Roberts, Mark Murphy as well. Fantastic. We've got a big lineup tonight. Loads of you through the door. Paul Edwards, Richard, how are you? Gary, good to see you. Tommy, good to see you as well, mate. Connor, thanks for joining us. Matt Richards, evening. And Craig Jones. Craig, fantastic. Cheers for joining us. Andy Roberts just sneaked in through the door before we closed it. There you go. I'm sure there'll be many more of you in there at the moment. The live pickup up to 68 people already, so it's moving really quickly. We're only 2 minutes in, which is fantastic. Yeah. So, guys, we've got a fantastic special guest today. Please get your comments in there. If you've got any questions you want to ask, we'll do those at the end. I will flag them up, so we'll get those at the end. But tonight's guest, as you know, is the voice behind Millwall's weekly match commentary. Known for his sharp insight and infectious energy, he brings the game to life. Please welcome our special guest, Karl Bates. How you doing, Karl?
Evening all. Yeah, I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Thanks for joining us. And Karl, just briefly, just tell us, what you've been doing this summer. Obviously, the season's over now. It must be, apart from going on podcasts with ourselves, what have you been up to the last sort of few weeks?
Playing cricket, in all honesty. I still think I'm young enough to run around the field. I've managed to split the webbing in my fingers, so I've been out of action for a few weeks and claiming as much sympathy as I can get. Yeah, it is, or was. But other than that, just trying to, like Jesper said earlier, with the fixture list, we're just waiting for that to come along. So, yeah, just finding things to do and waiting for the weekends to tick by.
Absolutely. And of course, listeners, I'm sure you'd agree, Karl's got a very distinctive voice if you ever listen to the matchday commentaries. But, this is what he looks like in the flesh. So we now trying to put a face to the name. So Karl, with regards to your background, I mean, when was it when you first started commentating on Millwall games? And when did it actually, how did it actually come about?
It's a long story, to be honest with you. I started actually on the radio. My mum sadly passed away when I was 17. She died of cancer, but she listened to a lot of hospital radio when you couldn't visit her. They had visiting hours, so you'd go and out of that, she'd listen to the radio. It was Radio Adam Brooks in Cambridge. And then a few years later, in one of my first jobs, I met somebody, one of the IT guys did hospital radio. So I went along with him, had a go, bit of self-therapy, I suppose, enjoyed it. We wrote off to a local radio station that was just starting up. I don't know if you're aware, but it used to be, it may have changed now, but it used to be that if you wanted to bring in a new radio station, you get given a temporary 97.6. And then once you get enough listeners and you've got enough advertising fundraising, then they'll give you that full time. And so we did that as a Saturday morning show. I then wrote to the BBC totally cold. I said, look, this is me. This is what I sound like. I like football. Have you got anything as a runner or just work experience behind the scenes? And got stupidly lucky. My CV must have literally, I don't think it was myself one bit, just CV landed, bang, perfect timing. And I got a phone call one Tuesday night. Hello, this is Emma Joslin from the BBC. She had a job title that just went on forever. She said, we're looking for somebody to come in and read out the full-time scores live on BBC One this Saturday. Are you free?
Wow.
Just check the diary. Yeah. I thought one of her mates had found out, in all honesty. I thought, somebody's found out. This is a wind-up. I'm going to look an idiot. And this was when BBC was still at White City, not far from QPR's ground. And so I wandered in. I went to reception very nervously. Felt like a little child. I was, my name's Karl. I'm here to read out the full-time scores. She got this big list. Yeah, no problem. Grab a seat. Oh, this is real. One of the guys that worked there grabbed us, took us in. First thing I saw was Lineker and Zoe Ball having a play fight. Very strange.
Wow,
then
that's surreal.
It was. They then took me into the green room. I met Schmeichel, Alan Hansen was there, Les Ferdinand was there, Garth Crooks was there, and they left me there. They said, "Oh, I've got a nip off, Karl. Have a seat. We'll come back to you." So I'm sitting there. They've got all of these games on live, and then they ask my opinion. "Oh, Karl, what do you think of so and so?" And I'm like, I once scored at Cambridge United's ground for my school team. This is nothing compared to you won the Champions League, you've won European Cups, you've won this, that, and the other.
Wow.
And so from there, then I went along, and then James Alexander-Gordon read them out at 5 o'clock, and then Ray Stubbs passed it over to me at 6 o'clock. So just before I went on, I thought, right, I know how to speak and I know how to read. Think of nothing else, do it. Didn't fluff it, so then your CV's gone up tenfold. There was then an advert, Guardian newspaper, football commentators wanted. So sent my stuff off. I wasn't actually first choice. The first guy didn't want to get a replacement bus to the ground, so I can't imagine he made it for 1 second. I did. It was Barnet v Mansfield at Underhill, should I say. And when I got there, all I was supposed to do was just, when the ball goes out of play, he'll come to me and I just read out the latest scores. But he said, if you fancy a go co-commentating, press that button and off you go. I was then given that job voluntarily. I wasn't paid for it, but I went and covered Barnet for about a year and a half, just making my own way. Because when people say I was volunteering, you're not, it's costing you money. So travelled around doing that. I've got a very understanding wife who allowed me to do this. Went to glamorous places like Rochdale and Hereford and some lovely places.
So sorry to interrupt there, Karl. Sorry.
No,
so was that coincide with your full-time job at the time? Was you working and doing that as well together?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
No. I had
Okay.
Yeah. So you're doing your full-time Monday to Friday and then that on the Saturday, or if it was midweek, trying to work around your jobs, you may be having to take a half day, either side, depending on where they were playing. So yeah, did that for a while, and then because this was for BBC London, and then what happened was Barry, who was the commentator, he moved on to work for another company, and BBC London knew of me. They knew I'd put the yards in, I'd earned my stripes, so then I moved into the payroll. Covered Barnet for quite a few years, and they had Laurie Sanchez as manager, Edgar Davids, which is one of the most bizarre interviews I think I'll have on Earth.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sitting there talking to somebody who was wearing something probably more expensive than my house at one point. The first interview was at Wycombe Wanderers. I mean, you've normally got a press it. When I interview a Barnet manager after the game, maybe have 3 people there. I'm interviewing him at Wycombe, and it was it was just crunched up. But then Edgar Davids actually relegated Barnet. Graham Stack was in goal. Stacky.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lovely guy, Stacky. Still chat with him every now and again. He actually helped me out co-commentating once for Millwall. So they got relegated, and then BBC didn't want to lose us, and I didn't want to. So I did various jobs here, there, and everywhere, just doing updates. Stayed in the loop, did some work for BBC Wales, like I'd cover Swansea if they were at Norwich because I live in Cambridge. And then the Millwall job came around. I got a call from BBC London saying, we've recommended you to Millwall. They're looking for a new commentator to come in. You interested? I said, yeah, definitely. So went down to the den, had a chat with, at the time that was Billy Taylor. Spoke with him, went through it. and I couldn't have said yes quick enough, in all honesty. And I've now covered Millwall. I think it'll be my 8th season when we start again next year. So
unbelievable, fantastic. Well,
that's how it was done.
I know. I'm sure. I'll talk about everybody here. We love you commentating our games. You speak really, really well. You've got this infectious personality where you just can't help but listen to every word you say. Yeah, your emotions are there as well. I love the up and down, the adrenaline. You show. It's incredible. And of course, you've got a very special relationship with our Max McLennan as well, who commentates with you quite often on show. And of course, Max, if you're watching or listening, congratulations to you and your wife who gave birth to your baby son, Theo James McLennan, last Thursday, just in time for Father's Day. But Karl, what's your relationship like with Max when you're sort of co-commentating together on games?
Very close. I mean, Max joined the club a long time ago, and we naturally hit it off. I'm really lucky in the fact that not just with Max, the whole of the Millwall media team, our little band of 6 or 7 that travel everywhere, we all genuinely get on. There's no cliques. There's nothing funny. It's just like kids on a school trip to an extent. We work hard, play hard sort of thing. So we have a lot of fun. Me and Max get on naturally very well. I've been speaking to him the last few days now. He's entered parenthood, and to be fair to him, he managed to do it close season, so hats off to him.
Great timing, eh? Great timing, yeah.
Exactly.
Committed to the cause.
Yeah. So no, we get on really, really well. So yeah.
Brilliant, fantastic. And I've got some questions for you. And again, we've got some questions that were sent in to us earlier through our social media team, and we've got some guys in the chat here with some questions. We'll flag them for the end of the show, like I mentioned. But can you just share with us perhaps a memorable moment from your time commentating for Mill in a particular game that stands out for you?
I'd probably say during COVID, a certain game at Carrow Road, people like to remind me about when I may have damaged a chair. I think I earned extra points because we must be the only club in COVID that could still wreck somewhere. Because unfortunately, there must have been 30, obviously. I still blame Mason Bennett. If his pass had been any good to Jed, I wouldn't have fell over. The problem was they have these really weird chairs at Norwich where it's almost like you're on a fairground. They sort of revolve out on you, and so you revolve them out, put all your stuff in, and then they revolve in again. And my one just felt a little bit unsteady, and I had mentioned it earlier in commentary. And at Norwich, they put the away comms right next to the exec boxes, so you can't see right down the corner. And so Mason plays the ball with Jed. I've leant forwards to see. The chair's given up. I've just smacked straight into the table in front of me. No. Hence why Max was completely useless for the next 5 minutes. And I'm desperate. I am so amazed I didn't swear. I must admit. It just sounds like, oh, Christ, bang. And so
I remember hearing that back. It was just amazing, so funny. Anyone who has watched it at a time. Fantastic.
And Karl, you have to remain professional as well when that happens, right? I mean, you can't both just, burst into laugh because there's a game to commentate, right? So how do you manage that when it happens?
I did both from what I can remember from listening to it, because it's been played back quite a few times, that you can hear me laughing, joking, but still keeping you up to date that Pookie's got the ball and is heading towards our goal. So I was mentioning, need to go on Weight Watchers. I'll put the picture on social media because the chair was just capitulated completely. So you're sort of doing a bit of both at the same time. So right. Try not to swear. And obviously Max had completely lost it. He couldn't speak. So I didn't realise everybody has that laugh, don't they, where somebody really gets you can't control it. And I never knew how hilarious he sounded when he started laughing. But yeah, that's very
brilliant. Amazing. Brilliant. So, just out of curiosity, how do you and Max prepare for each game? Right? I mean, obviously you complement each other very, very well when you're in the commentary booth. But if you give the audience, the listeners, and ourselves, I guess, an insight into the prep that goes into what you do before a game. I mean, I'm sure it's quite a lot.
Yeah, it is. I'd normally take 3 to 4 hours to research the opposition, look into statistics, head-to-heads, what we've done at that particular ground, what their record is, key players for them, if there's any interesting facts specifically about a certain player, because if that player gets injured, for example, or scores, you're just adding a bit of, I suppose, meat to the bones when the ball goes in. I actually work off a laptop. I have a Excel spreadsheet which has 4 or 5 different tabs at the bottom. So I have one where you have the players and I can move their names around. So because what happens now that you get so many substitutions, changes in formations, I used to, and a lot of people still do, pen and paper, but it just becomes carnage after 60, 70 minutes. So with this, you can move them around. It has all their stats down the middle. It has little yellow and red cards I can put up next to players in case you forget. It has all the subs down the bottom. And then I have little blocks which have little key facts in them. Like, I think it was when we played Burnley, I think they were unbeaten at home. Birmingham City were the same in League One. And just a couple of little stats like that may come in handy during the game. There was one about Zian as well. I think when he hadn't started a game, they hadn't won, or I can't remember exactly, but just have little bits and bobs like that, which just help when you're commentating. And then there'll be the fixtures on another one. There'll be pictures of the opposition players in case they bring somebody in totally left field, number 72, who's never played before. At least then I've got at least I know then what he looks like, which gives me half a chance once you're commentating. So yeah, I put a lot in. It's almost like cramming for an exam. I'll sort of really look into a certain team, but once we've stopped playing them, I'll save that until we play them in the reverse fixture, and then just forget, and then just cram to the next one and just do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. So what do you feel is the most sort of challenging aspect of commentating a live football game? We talk about the prep and all the work that goes into it, and rightly so, because I think you have to do that prep in order for you to do a good job, as you often do every week. But during the game, what are the biggest challenges you find, what you're facing when you're actually doing the actual commentating itself?
It can be the view. I mean, I'm very lucky at Millwall. I sit pretty much bang on the halfway line above the dugouts. It's a nice view. There's no pillars in the way or anything like that. The setup's good. But some grounds you go to, Middlesbrough, for example, you're right at the back of a massive stand. Luckily, there's a little screen, but we're talking about the size of the laptop I'm using at the moment, which has the pictures on it, which is great. But some grounds you'll go to and you don't have that. And so then, for example, Jesper, or if somebody else is watching from abroad, they can see the TV pictures. So they'll see an incident far clearer than I. Well, I've got that 1 split second to try and guess to an extent there's a potential penalty or red card or offside, etc. So I might be saying, "Oh, that's never a foul," but then Jesper's watching it and he's nearly cut him in half. So there is something which then makes it.
But Karl, sorry to interrupt. Do you get the replay as well as we do when we watch it on the stream? Would you get the same replay on your laptop?
If the game is being shown, yes. But okay. I would. But like for example, at Millwall, we don't have a screen there. I would say out of all of the games, maybe 20 to 25% of the time we do have a monitor, but the majority of the time we don't. It's just your eyes looking into the stand.
Right.
And
I was wondering sometimes,
Yeah, because you're on away games, you're sitting in with the away fans as well. So that can be problematic. If you're celebrating a late goal, they tend to be annoyed when you're, so yeah, you do lose yourself in the moment, definitely.
Yeah. But I was going to ask you that question. Sorry, Karl, go on.
No, Karen, you're probably going to ask what I was about to say. Yeah.
No, I was going to say that about the away fans. What's the interaction like when you go to away games? And of course, you've got the home support can be quite hostile, and how do you find that engagement? How do you interact with those fans during those games?
You normally leave it to them, as in if they want to chat to you, that's great. You can have a chat about. They might ask you how your team's getting on. What was the traffic like getting here? Did you travel today? Did you come down the night before? Are you staying over? If they open up, then I wouldn't engage specifically because they might not want to, which is perfectly fine. Or you might annoy them. So, I mean, some grounds, Plymouth, for example, when we went there and Sav got that late second, there was a guy, we were commentating right at the back of their stand, and there was a guy sitting the row in front of us, but about 5 seats across, that started yelling dog's abuse at us. I mean, I won't bore you with the swearing, but...
And that picks up on the mic, does it? Does it pick up quite well on the mic? What's the mic like? Yeah? Yeah,
it can do occasionally, but then, and it's... You're doing about 3 things at once, because I'm commentating on the goal, keeping an eye on what Sav's up to, plus without talking, bollocking him back again. Just like, I'm literally going, carry on, mate, whatever. So I'm doing about 4 or 5 different things at once. The good thing is, as I mentioned about the Millwall media team, you've got about 6 of us in a line. The minute he's kicked off, our lot are up like, we're back in our bodies.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
Calm yourself
Which
down.
again, we don't see.
Yeah. Not trying to be
we don't see
confrontational,
that,
in fighting them, but back off, mate. We're just doing our jobs. So.
Yeah, and it allows you to focus on what you're doing, because the last thing you want to do is get into a slagging match with someone, during a live commentary game. So I guess it's important. Yeah,
I guess it's quite tricky, Karl, really, because you don't, much as you might want to, you can't really jump up and punch the air and get in there like we would. But you've got to show emotion in your voice, haven't you? Because clearly we've just scored and we want to hear that from you, so it's that balance, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, you do anyway. I do. I'm glad they don't have cameras on us, because you see nowadays, don't they? Some people record themselves commentating, which I'm really glad at the moment that isn't an idea of ours. And if Max is watching, but I'd like to think he wouldn't, because I do jump around like a lunatic. If anybody's seen me at Millwall's ground, I am up and down more freely. When you are away from home, you do try and reel it in a bit, but it's very hard not to. I remember when we played away at Swansea midweek, when we were 2-0 down, and then they scored 2 own goals in stoppage time. We're sitting right at the back of their ground. They're 2-0 up. They're celebrating. They're walking past with a bit of a smug smile on their face, because they totally dominated the game. Should have won 10-0. And the funniest thing was they scored 2 own goals, which actually meant they had more shots on their goal than we did. And we still got a point. And so when the second goal went in, I doubt you'll remember the commentary. It's basically just me and Max jumping around like idiots, screaming our heads off. It was pretty unprofessional, but we just couldn't believe the moment we were in.
Help emotion, can you? Yeah.
No, exactly. And I think people are aware of that. I don't, if you're, I suppose, being antagonising to them, or I don't know, sort of goading them, then you're going to get it back. But they must get it when other teams come there and score late goals. So if you
nothing better than a late goal, is there? Lenny's 50-yard sprint to tackle Obafemi, and then we pass it up the line, and it's the one cross in, and then we equalize. And how can you not be accelerated by that? I mean, honestly, I would have done the same.
Yeah, it was surreal, I think, considering how one-sided the game was. Really.
Excellent. I guess on the flip side, what's it like with the Millwall fans? Whether it be home games or away games. What's that like? Do you interact much with them? Before or after games, stuff like that.
At home games, the guys that sit next to us will often have a chat before the game, before I go on air. A couple of them collect team sheets, so I'll collect them when we're at away grounds and then give them to them when we get there. And so just have very calm, and more people are recognising us now when we go to away games or when I'm walking to the den. So people will quite often stop, have a chat just about the game and what have you. So no, it's nice. It's I don't have any. I mean, a mate of mine who I used to work with is a Millwall season ticket holder, so he's always bugging me for news. Hello, Beatty.
What's the latest? Yeah, exactly. Because the guys we're talking on a WhatsApp group chat earlier in the day, and I think it was Jesper or Disco. One of you said, who does Karl support? Is he actually a Millwall fan? And I was trying to answer for you, but I don't know if I was right in saying this, that I don't think you're actually a Millwall fan, but you're kind of becoming almost like a Millwall fan, because you know so much about the players, the club, and you certainly got a bond now with the club, haven't you? But are you a Millwall fan, or do you support anyone else?
No. I mean, as I mentioned earlier on, I grew up in Cambridge, so followed Cambridge United being the local team. Still naturally keep an eye on them, especially with Neil being there now. But no, I am a Millwall fan now. I'm not ashamed to say that and say it to anybody that will listen, because can you not be when you follow the team home and away? You talk to the players, the manager, the staff, everybody and anybody. It'd be impossible and almost strange if you weren't. So no, 100%.
Yeah. Excellent. Jesper, Disco, do you have any questions before we go to the fans' questions? Anything you want to ask Karl before we move on?
Well, a quick couple of obvious ones. Are you a batsman or a bowler, Karl?
Yeah, I'm still trying to work that one out, considering I'm tickling 50.
Clearly not a strip fielder by the sound of it.
No, a batsman, sort of coming in 5 or 6. That's about it. Brilliant. And can you remember what the Millwall score was when you did your first results at BBC, when you were asked to go in? Can you remember that at all? Oh,
it's a bit of a tough one, that.
No, God, no. That would have been 15, 16 years ago. So, no, not a chance. We'll claim it was 6-0. 6-0.
Well, that's a good man. Good hope for us. No, and my serious question was, You've sort of alluded to it with you saying about the view you have at grounds, which, you know, I guess is key in terms of watching the game. But I'm always intrigued when somebody scores a goal, do you have a certain technique or tactic to know who the goal scorer is? Because as fans, either at the game or watching, I'm always like, who scored that? You know, I'm not sure. I'm celebrating. How do you know straight away?
Well, you can cheat, in all honesty, and you'll now maybe even look out for it occasionally by the fact that if you don't know who scores, keep flannel until you do. And by that, say for example, it's a goal line scramble. You're not sure who got the last touch because somebody scored. Everybody's piled on top of them. And so, again, you won't be able to see me, but I might have the team sheet in my hand and I'm pointing to people while I'm talking and I'm looking around, but I'm still talking at the same time. And so you explain the goal without explaining who got it. So it could be, ball comes into the area, no one's able to kill it. Millwall have got the goal. It's a 2-1 win. I can't believe the scenes went up. The minute I'm looking, I'm trying to work out who the hell's got the final touch. And once you've got it, add it on at the end, or just keep going until the tannoy announcer does it. You can get round it. So
I don't know about you guys, but the hair in the back of my neck just went up when I just heard Karl commentating there. Like, I just felt,
Brilliant. Thank you, Karl. Brilliant.
Excellent. Jesper, any questions you want to ask?
Yeah, I have a quick fire one, and then I have, also maybe you can call it a serious one. But what is the worst ground you've ever been to with Millwall to commentate away from home, of course?
Yeah, obviously. The worst ground.
And why, of course.
Yeah, good one. I mean, let's have a think. Good question. Should have thought about that. Let's have a think. Blackburn. Yeah. One, even though it took a while, 100% Blackburn, because they are awful. As in, they don't look after you remotely when you're there. Wow. We get put on a nice little bit of food. Normally get a nice meal at most grounds. Millwall, especially, one of the best ones around. But at Blackburn, they give you the equivalent of one of those sandwiches out of the garage that's about to go out of date for about 10p. Wow. A bag of crisps if you're lucky. And they have hot and cold drinks, and it's really funny because they have a woman sat there, and she's been there for years. It says catering staff, and she doesn't move an inch. She just sits there. Can I have a cup of? And you say, "Can I have a cup of coffee?" Yes, over there.
Yeah.
The view's not great. The ground always seems empty, and of course, the day we went there with the snow, when they called it off, and that was 100. And that was definitely intentional because Brereton Diaz was injured and they needed him fit. Correct. Because we got there early. I mean, we always get to grounds early to get everything sorted. And we got there 3 hours before kickoff and they hadn't touched any of the snow whatsoever. They waited until the referee got there. And then 4 or 5 of them sort of half-assed it round, not doing it properly. And the referee pulled the pin. But then when you looked at all of the other grounds in that area, every single one of them went ahead.
Correct.
Yeah.
Good job. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, good to remember.
I'm surprised at that, though, Karl. Actually, I live in Bolton, so I'm only up the road from Blackburn. Blackburn's probably
you can tell by his accent, can't you, Karl?
My accent, of course. It might have been that catering staff. Might have been my missus.
Tell her to make the tea then. Well, bottle if they got it. But yeah,
I'll bring you a packed lunch next time you're up here because I look after you. But I've actually eaten there at Blackburn, gone corporate, and it's bloody good food there. It's a good setup. So they're obviously on a wind up there for you, unfortunately, because you'd have thought it would be good.
Well, we had one there. Okay. One of the years we went up there, they actually said to us when we were up there, we said, "Oh, we've got sandwiches." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, last week that was really good because we played, I don't know, Chelsea in the cup or something. They played a Premier League club. They put on a lovely spread because it was us lot." Sandwich. Brilliant.
Excellent. We've got some questions. So Craig Jones, I know he's in the chat. How you doing, Craig? He asked the question. I think you kind of loosely answered this one, but what sources or platforms do you use to record your stats? And do you have a spreadsheet to update? So you kind of nearly answered that question earlier, but is there like a go-to you get your information from, like a website or something you might use?
Yeah, there's a Soccer Base is probably the best one. I'm luckily did some work with Clive Tilsley a while back, and he uses the same one, so that was a big bonus. There's another one called Rate the Ref, which unsurprisingly tells you which one's refereeing the game nice and early. You can then go on Soccer Base, and that will show you the games that they've refed, how many red, yellow cards, where the referee's from. There's one called Transfer Market, which is good at showing you the formations that teams have been playing the last few games. There's football web pages, which is really good just for stats about current runs of form, like which team will be top if the league started in the last 6 games, 8 games, 10 games, certain players, this, that, and the other. So there's plenty out there. It takes a long while to look around, but do your homework and you'll find some. The inner nerd gets out occasionally. It's good fun. You find some really good stats.
Which, like you say, that those 3 or 4 hours in preparation, you can see a lot of it is like literally checking all these websites, all this information, and try to capture what you need. So fair play. A lot of work gets involved. Another question from Craig is: would you ever have a fan co-commentate you for a day at the Den, or will that be too tricky to handle, especially if there's been a goal?
No, I wouldn't have a fan with me. I've seen Fan Zone on the television, which scares and annoys me at the same time. No, I suppose it's just the professional in me. I'm one of those people. Even when I watch football at home, I almost have to have accepted people that I will watch a game with. So if we go up to the pub or something like that, I have to be with the right people because people will naturally annoy me. I am quite, I suppose, I don't know. So no, I wouldn't. And also, I like to do things properly when commentating. If I was just having a chat with somebody, like say I was a fan, if we're watching the game down the pub, perfectly fine. We can yap away till the cows come home. But when I'm sort of working, I like to do things properly, which means the goal goes in, you do your little bit, stop, Max or Horny, whoever comes, does their bit, and then we move along and what have you. So
you notice it when you're with Max. Obviously, you do so many games together, and you kind of you're in sync quite well. But then, like occasionally, like say if Horny comes in, or was Les Briley come on sometimes as well?
He used to. He hasn't been on. He now does a lot of the. He likes to do the days out. He shows people around pitch side and stuff before the game. Yeah.
I mean, it's still good. It's still really good. But you can see the flow isn't quite as it is when perhaps you're with Max. So I guess it just helps. But having a fan on there, I can imagine it could be a bit of a bit carnage, couldn't it?
Awkward. Yeah, it could be a lot of bleeping.
Another question was: who were your football heroes growing up, Karl?
I'd probably say Dion Dublin growing up because of my age, I suppose.
Cambridge?
Cambridge. Yeah, when I first was watching football, Cambridge were doing very well. I mean, it was around the early 90s and Cambridge nearly got in the Premier League. There were 2 games from it under John Beck. Everybody talks about Wimbledon being the long ball merchants, but Cambridge were years ahead of him in that sense. It's just,
they were with big Dion.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I was lucky enough to meet him, and the Millwall lot found it hilarious because I've been very lucky, and we're very lucky with the jobs we do to have met extremely famous people. I've met Arsene Wenger when I was at Barnet, interviewed Mourinho, had a coffee with Dalglish at Liverpool when they played West Ham, and a couple of others like that. But then I got to meet Dion when we beat Wimbledon with Muzz's header in the cup. He was there he was doing a job for BBC, I can't remember whoever, and I spotted him, and that's probably the only time I've been genuinely starstruck. I was really, oh my God, so I had to go over and have a picture with him, and the picture looks hilarious because Dion just looks, happy, big smile, and you've got me looking like a child in the headlights.
Love that. And let's bring that question up on the screen there. So Alex S just said Dion played for us in that kit that Jasper was wearing, I believe. Very true. Is that?
Yes, he would have done.
Great.
He was probably the reason we didn't get promoted. He was probably the reason we didn't get promoted. You remember that miss against Birmingham in the second game? Jeez. Still haunts us. Yeah,
good pro, wasn't he, Dion? And they talk very highly of him, the players. I liked him as a player. He's very good on House Under the Hammer as well these days. As well.
He's very good at selling houses as well. Exactly. But as good he was as a player, I know the players back then looked up to him. He was very, very good in the dressing room. He was very good with the younger players, helping them, coaching them. A few of the players back in that time used to say about how he spent half hour just talking to them about their game, how they can improve their game and stuff like that. So good guy.
I mean, he was unlucky in his career as well, because he went to Man United and was doing well, and then broke his leg. They had to bring in a replacement. It was a certain Cantona, and that was that.
That's right. Yeah, it's true, exactly.
Yeah.
Charlie says, or Charlie's mum is on Charlie's Millwall page, and he asked, "Who is your favourite Millwall player?"
Oh, good question. Good question. I have to. Does it have to be current? Because then I might offend others. No. I'd say my favourite player.
I bet I can guess, but I won't say. Go on, Karl.
Okay. I will say well, from a player point of view, Ryan Leonard, because I'm always, and I still to this day think he could do a job for us in midfield as that driving force down the middle. But on a personal level, Billy Mitchell, I get on really well with Billy. He's such a lovely guy. Always comes over, has a chat, really nice, friendly, just and you can tell he's Millwall, if you know what I mean. It just naturally beats through him. It stands out a mile. So
lovely, lovely choices there. Did you guess right, Disco?
No, I didn't. It was a pass.
Who's you thinking?
I thought you were going to say Jed Wallace.
Yeah, well.
Oh,
I thought we were talking current players. If it was
sorry. Sorry. Right. Oh, we really put you on the spot there with the current players. Oh, dear me.
But no, if it's overall, then you are right, Disco. It would be Jed, as I think I've mentioned before, in the fact that when I first joined, even though, I was a tried and tested commentator, it's still, you come into a big club, you're standing around first game, the players are there, and Jed straight away come over, said hello, and even I knew who he was, but hi, I'm Jed Wallace, you're the new,
nice,
etc. And then talked away as if we'd known each other for months. So that meant a lot. That really helped just break the ice and ease me into the day. So, always happy.
Love that. Great stuff. Paul Donovan, one of our panelists on Chat with Chaps, can't be with us this evening, but he says you are a very good commentator, but you also have an incredible record of at least one commentator's curse per match. Love the way you laugh about it afterwards. Keep up the good work.
Per match. Got to surely be at least every other.
Per match. I don't think it's as bad as that, is it?
Bloody hope not.
No.
If not, if we do it well, I'll turn the mic.
Paul has a way of putting things, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a bit of a wind-up merchant, Paul is, to be fair, isn't he? So it doesn't surprise me. We'll go to the chat, guys. We've got some questions building up here with the listeners that are watching the show at the moment. So I'm going to bring these up on the screen. So Dan Chappell said, did Karl ever commentate on a game involving Millwall before he started to work for us?
Mm-hmm. I did one, yes. I have been asked this before, and I still to this day can't remember who it was for, because Dino was doing the job for Millwall, and Dino was just, because as you you probably would know, don't you? He used to go pitch side before the game, do his bit, and then run up the stairs like a lunatic and commentate. I think I was for BBC London. I might even have been commentating on the Millwall game, but doing it for BBC London, not for Millwall themselves. But I have been there in the opposition corner, but I honestly, hand on heart, can't remember who, what, or why. But I remember I remember Dino looked after. So yeah.
There you go. Cheers, Karl. There you go, Danny. Next question, Matt Richards says that Karl does a great job. When we're on Sky, I listen to his commentary rather than the planks that they have on. So a lot of people do that. So they tend to watch the TV, put the volume down, but actually have you commentating, if that makes any sense. So it's the same way, like, if you're watching, the away team commentating, their commentators, it's never nice to hearing them. So you always want to hear your voice commentating us, of course, best goal Karl ever commentated for us, Karl?
Just going back to the other one, thank you, by the way, that you listen to me instead of Sky. But one of the nice things is, or one of the things that I will always, to every day I commentate, will always be in a football ground. A lot of people now, which happens at Sky, and I'm not dishing the actual commentators, far from it. Some of them are very good, don't get me wrong, but they do it at Stockley Park in a booth with a TV screen, and so you haven't got the atmosphere, so you can't, in my opinion, live a goal as much as you can in the ground, and I think that's where their commentary can sometimes suffer. Plus they quite often are flying solo due to money, so you'll just have one person, and it's very hard to commentate and summarize at the same time, because you're then doing two ways of thinking. So I don't envy them their job in regard to that, but I think that's probably why they struggle, and hopefully why it comes across better because of that. So.
I think you're being very modest there.
As well, Karl, we have Viaplay over here, which is probably the biggest sports presenter in terms of international football, and they do exactly the same. Mm-hmm. And as you say, when they sit in a commentator box like that, and they're not in the stadium, you can't hear the atmosphere in the television. You can just hear a guy speak, and then the noise, so to speak, from the stadium is barely there. So it's terrible. I mean, I'd rather put it on mute and then just listen to some music, because it doesn't bring you the quality anywhere near of being in the ground. It doesn't. So I'm glad you chosen that option, because it's money, I guess, again.
Yeah, it is. But commentary is so important. I think people forget how important commentary is to ourselves. You know, if there's a certain goal that you enjoy, you have to have that commentary that you heard when that goal went in. I mean, a very easy one for all of us, apart from you, Jesper, would be 66 World Cup. People are on the pitch, think it's all over, etc. You watch that goal again and just have, say, my commentary or anybody else's, and the goal doesn't seem as special. And that's the same with any goal. So it has to be your job, and I class that from my own point of view. I will listen back to my commentary, not purely from an egotistical point of view at all. I hate listening to my own voice, which is probably hard to believe since half the time I spent talking.
Yeah.
But I listen to it to make sure that I've hopefully hit the right notes, said the right things, given the goal the credit it deserves. And so, I think that's something that's really important and shouldn't be lost by dumbing it down to have somebody in the studio, because that could be a truly incredible moment for that club, and it's been ruined by somebody saving a few quid, sticking somebody in a room.
It's a bit related to my second question, which I didn't get to ask before Joe interrupted me. No, I'm just joking. But do you, Karl, do you have, like, I wouldn't say idols, but do you have like other commentators you look to in terms of maybe inspiration in how you commentate, how you portray things? You know, I know you have a certain Peter Drury over at you. You know, he's very good at sort of painting a picture in a game. I think he's quite unique. There's this Abubakar goal with Cameroon they score against Brazil, and the way he paints it, the way he describes it, something geographically within Cameroon. That was like, how do you know that? He's probably prepped for the game just like you do, but do you have any like people where you like try and look for inspiration?
I mean, growing up, I'm showing my age now, but it would be the likes of Brian Moore, Barry Davis. It was people that I could see Disco nodding, going, "Oh, the days." But these were the ones that I grew up listening to. We only had the big match on a Sunday. That was the only time you'd watch a game of football. And you know, there's certain commentary that I remember from games. One of the biggest ones would have been Arsenal beating Liverpool, where Michael Thomas got that last-minute goal, which took the title away from Liverpool. And that must have been a very hard moment to commentate. And Brian Moore got it spot on. He was talking about the amazing scenes from an Arsenal point of view, and it almost made the goal have more significance when he actually highlighted what had just happened from a Liverpool point of view, that all the players were down, out, and they were showing pictures of them all just on the floor. Even though it had won the league for Arsenal, he managed to almost give the more meaning to what had happened to Liverpool, which still highlighted how good a moment it was for Arsenal. So they were the people I grew up listening to and I suppose subconsciously learning off. So I know there are some very good commentators these days, but when you're listening as a youngster, they'd have been the ones that I listened to.
Love that. Great
it's
answer.
Up for grabs now, wasn't it? Was the comment?
Exactly. Yeah, right at the end. Yeah.
We've got loads of questions to get in through the fans, so we're going to try and get through some of these as quick as we can. That's okay. So back to this question. So best goal Karl ever commentated on for us. What goal sticks out in your memory as the best goal you feel you commentated on?
I'd say best goal in regard to the commentary itself would be Cooper's late goal at Sheffield United, the 25-yard rocket into the corner.
Wow, edge of the box,
Yeah, I remember when he hit it. You can just hear it in my commentary. I literally go, and I remember leaning back going, it's come to Jake Cooper. Because I could see he's going to hit it, and I thought, I can't believe it. And then he pings it in the corner, and Can you remember what you said?
Can you try it again, though, Karl, for us? If you could try and recap that memory. Try and do it for us.
I could. I'm not going to, but I could. Yeah, you're right.
You could, okay.
You can see me, so no, you're all right.
You can see me.
You can listen to me. It's somewhere on the internet, I'm sure. But No, I'd say that was such a good goal, important. But actually, I'd probably say the one that in regards commentary, I feel is the best one. But in regards importance, I think was actually 2 seasons ago at Bramall Lane when Coops scored that diving header late on. I don't know if you remember that when we drew 1-1, when we were starting to go the wrong way, rather sharpish. We looked like the team that was going to end up in the bottom 3, and that was a really weird game because of all people, Tom Elliott come on that game and he changed it because we were really struggling. He come on. He was the one that got their player sent off with the handball. Then Ben Marshall hit the crossbar with the penalty. You're thinking this ain't going to be our day. And then the keeper saved, Coops hits it in.
Yeah.
So, great memory, Karl. Yeah.
So yeah.
Fantastic. Next question. So did Karl take over from Dino Stanley? I think you did, Karl. Is that right?
Yes, I did. Yeah, Dino finally hang up. I see him. He comes down to Millwall every now and again to watch him.
Did he?
But I think he just he don't. I mean, he'd been doing the job 207 years. Was it 2?
Wow. Was there like a handover almost with Dino Stanley, or did you kind of leave and at the door and you went through the door and that was it? Almost changed roles.
Because it was at the end of the season, I didn't meet. Like I said, I'd met Dino before, but I didn't meet him in that sense. He'd just told Millwall that he was going to stop commentating, so they contacted BBC London, and then I came across, and then I started. First game was Middlesbrough 2-2 at home when our friend got another late goal against us. So I came in then. So we didn't like officially sort of pass the microphone over, shall we say? But yes, I did come in straight after Dino left.
Good, excellent. Next question. Following on from Alex S's question, is Karl aware of how similar his voice is to Dino Standing's? Great continuity from the club to bring in Dino's voice twin. Did you ever know that, Karl?
I didn't. No, I had no idea. I know we commentate differently, as in Dino, I don't know, doesn't talk as much rubbish in regards Bovril and various other random things that comes into my brain as I'm talking. But Dino, very, very good commentator. I didn't realise we sounded similar because I think when you're commentating, you do sound slightly different anyway. And so when I talked to Dino, I didn't realise we had a similar type voice, but maybe we do in tones when we were commentating.
We talked about worst grounds. A question here from Alex S. Karl, which ground has the best catering?
Best catering, Hull City. They do street food when you're there. Really nice. Yeah. No, I was disappointed to lose Luton due to location, but pleased from my stomach's perspective that Hull stayed up. Hull is best food by a mile. Really nice.
Brilliant. And it's one's from Jeff Chandler. Hi, Karl. Welcome, mate. If you can, what's the best atmosphere at a Millwall away game that you've commentated on over the years?
Maybe a surprising one. It would be Blackpool away when we won 3-2 when Bradders was here. Because where we got to commentate from was directly next to the away fans because you were sort of up to the side, but in the left-hand corner, weren't you? And we were sat dead between Millwall to our left. There was us, and then the Blackpool fans to the right. So it was brilliant because of where we were with the late goal that end, the atmosphere. I'd say that was because it was a really important game, really important win, especially that relegated Blackpool as well. So the game had a hell of a lot on it, and the atmosphere because of how close we were to. That's probably the closest we've sat to the away fans, I think.
Yeah, excellent. I've got a couple of funny questions here. So Connor says, can Karl commentate on Joe's Puskas miss of the year? And Craig says, would Karl like to do some commentary over your miss at the recent fans game, Joe? So basically, I've taken part last few years at the Den, do a charity football game, and I scored one year last year, and I missed a bit of a sitter really this year. So how do you feel about doing your kind of commentary on my miss if I show you the video and my goal? Can you do that for us? Is that right?
Go on then. Let's give it a go. Right. Who's passing the ball, etc. first? Do I get any chances
Okay, so for the miss, I can't know what his name was now. Oh God, it's so bad.
I'll make him up.
Jesper passed it.
Pretend it's Jesper that crosses the ball. So the cross goes to the back post. I'm there at the back post. You can't, miss me.
How would you like me to describe you? Joe, Zampa, superstar? Would you like to name after a hero?
however you wish. I'm gonna try and find the goals. Just bear one.
Oh, he's struggling to find it. If it was his goal, he'd have that straight up.
You know what? Joker aside, I think it's been removed. So we've only got my goal. Okay, so Harry Warren, the ball goes to the right hand side.
Yep.
Edge of the box. Harry Warren plays a lovely little through ball to me, and I score it. Okay, so I'm going to play it now, and I'll have to work. Sorry, I have to work the audio. Just give us 2 seconds.
You got plenty of time, Karl. It's in slow motion, so don't worry.
All right,
that's just me. That's just my speed. Right. Let's see if this works. Give us a second. Whoop. Okay, I'm sorry there, Karl. Sorry, Karl. For some reason, I think you were muted on there. So you have to when the video comes on, you have to unmute yourself.
Oh, right, it'll be on here somewhere, will it?
On there, okay. Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't control it from my end. Let's give it a go, yeah?
At least he's seen the build up now.
Yeah, exactly.
Good challenge out on the right, just coming in, looking for option ahead of him. Packed out stadium, we can see this highly large game. Here's the chance, here's the goal. Keep it straight through his legs, and Millwall take the lead 1-0. Just seeing it again, that ball just split the defence, just put straight with his left leg. He probably should have done better looking at it again. The striker does not care an inch.
Brilliant! Yay! I could die happy. The legend Karl Bates. Thank you very, very much. So I couldn't find the miss, guys. But yeah, we're running out of time, aren't we? So we have to move on with the show. But no, that's legendary of you, Karl. Thank you very, very much.
Joe.
Yes.
Sorry. Can I? I've just thought of a question for Karl.
Yeah.
Karl, you talked about getting stats on formations, etc. I think it's Transfer Market. You said you got that from, but
yes.
Did you find it quite easy to recognise formation changes in games, both by ourselves and the opposition?
Sometimes it's hard because they can be very subtle, and if there's a lot of things going on, because often it'll happen during the second half when there's 3 or 4 substitutions as well, so they may be tweaking with it. Then you're also keeping an eye on the scores, you're keeping an eye on the bench to see if there's going to be any subs to counteract that from our side of things. So it can be hard. It may take a little while to spot it if it is just slightly, I don't know, say they just dropped somebody from the number 10 spotted 2 in front of the 2 in midfield. But unless it's really obvious, it can take a little while to spot. But sometimes you'll nail it straight away. You clock it and you think or you might you may know enough about that player that's coming on, or whatever, to think right, he's coming on. He only plays over here, therefore they're going to drop him in to wherever.
And a link from that, without putting you on the spot, have you noticed particularly Alex Neil sort of making changes more noticeable since he's taken over?
I think the style of play generally, as in keeping the ball on the floor, more trying to get players to the byline, trying to get them nearer the corner flag before they're going to put crosses in to give Mihailo a chance. I mean, easy example against Burnley, wasn't it? Honeyman's gone right down the byline, pulled it across, and that's a great finish. I'm commentating again, like great finish at the front post.
Don't stop. We love it, Karl. Yeah, you might cringe at yourself, but we actually love it when we hear you talk that. So carry on.
Yeah, but I think it's those sort of things. We're keeping the ball on the floor, and he's allowing the likes of Aziz, Bangura Williams to flourish. They're not being given a specific role. Yes, you're out on the left, but you decide to drop in or you decide to come here to get the ball. We're okay with that. So I think the formation's more loose, and I think players are encouraged to be themselves, should we say, more than the rigid, this is exactly where you're playing.
That's good. So, good. Thanks. Brilliant. Thank you.
Got a question from Jonathan Bowdry, and I think you might have answered this one with the Norwich game. What is Karl's most embarrassing moment whilst commentating? Does that is that number one, the Norwich you say?
Yeah, it has to be, considering. Yeah, I've been commentating for a long time, and then the only one that goes viral is me going flying. But other than that, what most embarrassing moment? Have I ever got a commentary completely wrong? I think that one stands out. I'm sure there are others that people listening in can go, oh, I remember this, that, and the other.
But you can't beat the chair instance at Norwich, though, can you? Let's be honest. No. Question from Alex S. Did Karl commentate on Morrow's goal at Wembley?
I didn't. I believe from hearing it, I'm not 100% sure. I think it was Phil Parry from BBC London that did the commentary that we hear all the time with the flick on of Morrison's there. So that sounds like Phil Parry, another very, very, very good commentator and a really nice guy to do with it. But no, I wasn't at that one before my time. Brilliant. Just
before your time. John, MFC 885 says, hi, Karl. Who would you want to win if Millwall played Cambridge?
Millwall. I was there for the 1-0 Cambridge win. So a lot of my mates who reminded me.
Oh, yeah.
No, it would be Millwall. No, don't get me wrong. As I said, I keep an eye on Cambridge. Hope they do well. Catch up with my mates, see how the team's getting on. And I'll definitely be doing it again next season with Neil there. But no, when Millwall played Cambridge, I was 100% behind Millwall. So
excellent. And then Craig says, how does Karl reckon we'll do next season? You optimistic?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any. I mean, we've still got the transfer window, which for a club like Millwall is very big. It's not like a Man City where you can throw endless money and, oh, we've lost him, so we'll buy 2 of them and 3 of these, 5 of these. The money has to be spent wisely, but you've got to trust the team with bringing in recently. Negley, from the little bits that we've seen of him, looks a great talent. You're looking at Tristan Kramer. I mean, wow, who'd have seen that coming? A centre-half all day, drops in a right back and did fantastic. Jack, of course, coming in, Tanganga, Mihailo, Bangura Williams coming through. But Aziz, I think, was really impressive last season because when he first joined, I thought maybe that shirt's too big for him. I thought this looks like...
I agree with you, 100%.
I didn't think he was going to make it, but he's come on leaps and bounds.
Also, do you feel that's because he had big shoes to fill almost? Because he sort of came in almost like geared to be the replacement for Roma Esse. And where Roma Esse was like on top form, high in confidence, he was quick, he was taking players on. Of course, you bring Aziz in, and there's a little bit of a contrast, weren't there, at first, maybe?
Yeah, could be. I mean, there's almost a combination of Jed Wallace in there as well, as in having that winger that wants to take players on. And it could be, and as we all know, Millwall isn't an easy place to come. If you show your worth, the fans will back you forever. But they want to see that you're putting it in. And I think Femi, the first few games, was struggling a bit. And when you are a winger, I think it's not like a midfielder. You can be struggling, but you put in a good challenge and suddenly people, he's all right. But with a winger, if you get the ball and you might get round somebody, but if it doesn't come to anything, people forget. And then you lose the ball and people remember. So I think it's hard like that.
It's funny you say that. It's like with Casper De Norre. When it's like playing for Millwall, his friends back in Belgium are asking, what's it like playing in a championship for Millwall? He said, it's amazing, it's great. He said, they actually cheer when you make a tackle. It's new to, weren't it? So incredible. Question here from Oscan. Karl, did you ever go to the Old Den? Obviously not as a commentator, but as a spectator?
Yes, I did. My dad's from North London. He's born a few minutes from White Hart Lane. So he took me to see Spurs there a couple of times. I mean, I was quite young at the time. I can't remember the games or anything like that. I remember the atmosphere was slightly intimidating for a young lad. But I did wonder. I mean, my parents split up, and my dad used to take us at weekends to watch Spurs, and I did wonder what I'd done wrong during the week when he's taking me to places like that. We had to go to Stamford Bridge back in the olden days with the shed and the running track round it. That was interesting, trying to get to Fulham Broadway after the game. But I did go there a couple of times, so that's good.
Oh, brilliant. That's good to know. And one last question here from Charlie's Mill page. Which ground are you most looking forward to visiting this season? They put Wrexham in brackets.
I mean, Wrexham will be the only new ground. That is the only one I haven't been to from the teams that will play, unless we get anybody in the Cup. I think Charlton, just to go back there, I think will be nice. That's always a good game.
Good atmosphere.
Hopefully. But good atmosphere.
That's right,
Hull for the food, Sheffield United, because we've got a great record there. And I do like Sheffield United's ground anyway, because I think I think they're very similar to us, a very working man sort of club. There's no fancy airs and graces. They just get, and I love their song at the start about a night out in Sheffield. So I enjoy listening to that before the game as well.
Yeah, excellent.
Not Norwich, Karl. Norwich away.
I can't stay on the chair
for 2 reasons.
For 2 reasons. No, exactly. Brilliant. Millwall's season. How do you assess Millwall's season, Karl? Were there any sort of standout performances or games that kind of live in your memory that you thought, that sticks out?
I think when we went on the run of 1-0s, when we took out Leeds, took out Burnley, we were very solid at the back. I wouldn't say they were particularly flamboyant games, but we were very efficient in what we needed to do. We nullified them and took our chances when we got them. I think last season we did, considering, I think we forget sometimes how many injuries Millwall had because we haven't got as big a squad as others. We lost a lot of key players at key times, especially at the end of the season. I mean, George Evans still did incredibly well considering him being thrown in at the deep end. But, again, as I say, no disrespect to him, with Lucas Jensen in goal, you don't know, do you? It might have helped to the back, just giving that bit more security. With injuries to Joe Bryan as well at times. Then you're looking into going further forwards with Mihailo doing very, very well. It's a massive positive if Millwall can keep hold of him. I think that'll be great for next season. So I think there's definitely a lot of positives. And also, I think you can genuinely say, and I'm sure you'd all agree, that when Millwall sometimes, like an Aziz has the ball of Bangura Williams, you're almost out of your chair. You know something good, exciting is going to happen. When sometimes before that, you're thinking, oh, here comes the percentage ball. Let's look for Coops. Let's try this. And you're thinking, I've seen this before, but something different might happen.
It must be quite nice for you as well to commentate because, if we are going long ball, like you say, and playing the percentage football, to suddenly commentate on some like bits of skill. You see Bangura Williams and what he does sometimes, and Aziz and Negley. It must be quite nice as a commentator to really sort of commentate on that, on those nice bits of action, I guess, in games.
Yeah, I think it flows better from a footballing point of view, and you naturally go along with it. I mean, I should imagine an easy example would be the goal at Portsmouth that Mihailo scored. We just chipped it over the keeper. We were and I don't think we'd have done that a while back, where we had players down by the corner flag, the pressure position. There's no real options, but still, Casper and Bangura Williams very calmly, couple of quick 1-2s, cuts inside, plays the ball through. Mihailo's made the run, little dink over the keep. They made a very hard goal look very simple, and if that had been a Premier League side, we'd have seen that a few times. It was that clinical the whole way through from front to back, or back to front, shall I say.
Yeah, very true. Any areas you feel that we need to improve on next season, player-wise, position-wise, maybe?
I'd probably say another centre-half, irrespective of whatever happens with Jaff, if he stays or not. But you've got Coops, Tristan, Jaff, and so with Hutch and Muzzer moving on, both very experienced, very good professionals, both very nice guys. I'll always appreciate what Hutch did for me in regards making awareness of epilepsy. He was always keen to help out. He'd always be trying to do bits and bobs, wearing T-shirts, doing this, and always, was there for us. So
that's lovely, yeah.
Definite credit to him, a real captain in every sense of the word. I'd say probably a centre-half, and it's tough because if everybody was fit, like say, for example, we kept everybody, and then you look to say across if it was still going to be 4-2-3-1, you're looking at the likes of Aziz, Bangura Williams, Negley, Mihailo. That's a wonderful front four. Then you're looking at say Casper, Billy in there as a 2, and I'm only reeling these off, so if I've missed anybody, apologies. Then you can look at say Lenny, Kramer, Coops, Joe Bryan, Jensen in goal. That's a cracking 11. If they're all fit, that's a very hard team to beat, and also a team you'd want to go and watch. That's just them moving around, with players to spare in all positions, because they would be very, can't think of the word now, fluid. You could move, they wouldn't be in the same place. You could easily see the 2 wingers swapping, or somebody dropping into the 10 and somebody moving out. You've still got, you're just thinking for them now, you've got Kundl in there as well. You've got Honeyman. You've got Zach Sturge. By the looks, things could be on his way. Got over the line.
I hear what you're saying. I completely agree.
Karl, do you suspect we will play 4-2-3-1 next year or this season coming?
I think it depends on the transfer window, who comes in or out. I think it worked well for us when it was at its best. I think with the midfielders that we've had in there, I felt sorry for the likes of Honeyman because he never got to play central mid. He's a central midfielder who would so often play on the right side of a 3 or even in behind. And I think he got a bit of harsh criticism, because if we'd have shoved Sav or Casper out on the left of a 3 or right of a 3, I don't think they'd have struggled as well. But credit to Honeyman, irrespective of whatever he was getting from the crowd or struggling, head down 100% all the time. You know, he never let his head drop, and I respect him for that.
Yeah.
So
I agree, completely agree with you.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it'll be 4-2-3-1, but you don't know. He might have something in his mind, and we get a few people in the door, and suddenly it changes. But I think it will definitely be a 4 and a 2. And as to what will happen ahead of that, I don't know.
Yeah, makes sense. Just want to talk a little bit about player transfers and departures, more departures recently. There's nothing really sort of talk about players in, but George Saville, just going to get your thoughts, Karl, on George Saville. Obviously, he's joined Luton after we couldn't agree a contract with him. Did you put it down to sort of money or potentially the lack of game time he'll get next season that made him choose to leave? Obviously, he's 32 years of age now. What's your thinking behind that? And just some words really on George Saville for you, you know, and commentate on him for so many years.
Yeah, Sav as a person, he's very, very funny. I mean, he's got a very quick sense of humour. You don't want to be in a banter competition. You'll lose fast. But no, good guy behind the scenes, one of those characters in the dressing room that I think a lot of people rely on. And he's one of those players that he'll always give you 6, 7 out of 10 every game. You know, he's consistent. I think from a career perspective, maybe Alex Neil's thinking of younger players. Maybe he's looking at, I don't know, an easy example, just because we were talking about Billy and Casper. Maybe they're the 2 he's looking at, or maybe those 2 with George Honeyman in there somewhere. Maybe he's looking at a 3. Maybe he feels the certain way he wants to play that Sav won't be able to fit into that formation. And if other teams have been sounding George out, maybe they heard and were like, oh, if you're interested in moving, we wouldn't mind playing you. This will be X amount of money, but you're going to be our linchpin. You're going to be the one we're building the team around. Maybe the temptation was there. I don't know what the finances are in regards to the transfers. I don't know if that's something that's important to George or not. I've no idea. But I guess it's somewhere in the middle. But Luton have got themselves a good player. Simple as that.
Yeah, no, nice words there. Japhet Tanganga potentially leaving for what they reported 1.2 million. This is what Richard Cowley posted. There is you know, it has to be a Premiership club, so obviously it's not just 1.2 million to anyone. It has to be to a Premier League club as we believe it. There were rumours that Sunderland were quite interested in him. Crystal Palace were the favourites, although I think Richard Cowley is now saying that they're not in contention, not interested in signing Tanganga. Do you think that's you know, a good move for him? Yeah, how are Mill going to cope next season without Tanganga? Obviously, being a big player for us, player of the year, weren't he as well?
Yeah, a huge player for Millwall. I mean, I think it's a compliment to Jaff in the fact that because we brought him in on loan, gave him game time, got him his name out there, I think that was good of him to stick by us this season just gone. As in, he could easily have used those great performances and then try to sell himself here, there and everywhere. But he thought, no, Millwall trusted me. Millwall wanted me. Millwall took a chance on us. I'm going to repay them by staying. I understand people's frustrations thinking, cool, 1.2, that's a low number. But we still had Tanganga last season on a free transfer. You know, that's what I think you've got to remember. We have, let's not kid ourselves, a Premier League quality defender at our, you know, in the centre of our defence for a whole season. So, yeah, we may well, sadly, probably will lose him for a couple of million or whatever that may be. Yeah. But it's still very good business, in my opinion, that Millwall had somebody that good for a whole season on a free contract.
Very, very, very true. As you say, probably the transfer of the season. Really, you think about it, it's incredible what we achieved. Played 40 odd games in the league for us as well, and maybe to your point, yeah, would he even joined us if we put a much higher, you know, clause on there? Perhaps not. You know, I'm sure he had many options, and I think he did have many options, bigger clubs than Millwall, but he chose Millwall to almost repay, like as you say, for us to kind of put that trust in him. So whatever he decides to do, obviously we wish him well. Mihailo Ivanovic, Cole, obviously had a fantastic season, especially the second half of the season, scoring 12 goals, 7 of them in the last 9 games. What's your thoughts on his potential future at Millwall? I mean, lots of rumours about Lazio interested in him, Wolves are interested in him at the moment. I, for one, he's only 20 years old. I'd love to see him here for one more season, but I guess money talks, doesn't it? I mean, just a few words on Mihailo Ivanovic for you, really.
I obviously hope he stays, and I think from a professional perspective, it will do him more good to stay. I think, he's come over here, he's hit the ground running, he's scoring a lot of goals, a lot of different types of goals, top quality finishes. But at the moment, he's got that nice safety blanket. He's got a crowd and a team that love him. And I think at this stage in his career, that's a good thing. I think if he, say, pushes on, say Wolves are interested, say he goes there, Wolves could easily struggle next season. And if he's struggling in that side, he's gone for a whatever amount of money that is. And then if you're struggling and you end up on the bench suddenly, and then maybe you go out on loan in January, suddenly your career's took a really big downward turn. And he's 20. He's got so much time left in his career. It's a big risk, I think, for him. And from speaking to him, you remember when you're standing pitch side having a quick chat with him, you can see there is a young man there, talking to you. Yeah. He's not a seasoned pro. He's still in, he hasn't been in the country that long. I think it would make more sense. And I hope for his sake that he stays at the club, not just, as I said, because it would do us the world of good, but for him, I think professionally it would make sense too.
Yeah, excellent. And just George Honeyman, obviously contract talks still continuing. Do you hope that he stays? I mean, what's your thoughts on how he influences our Millwall side? I mean, I'd like to get your thoughts on George Honeyman, if he could play a key role in our team next season.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, it's a shame for him that he hasn't been able to play 10 games centre mid. Then I think people then get a true reflection of the importance of George Honeyman within the team. George Honeyman at the moment is almost a victim of his own flexibility because he can do a job here, there and everywhere. And I'd imagine he's the type of player that wouldn't throw the toys out of his pram if the boss said to him, right, George, need you in goal this week. We're struggling. I need you up top with Mihailo playing as a target man. He'd just go, fine. How do I do this? Dun, 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 and get on with it. That's the type of guy George is. And that's from talking to him personally. You can see that. And so I think I can't see why he couldn't have a place within the team. I don't know if that means he'll be starting. I don't know if that means he'd be happy being in a squad rotation, or if he particularly wants to play in his natural position, then maybe there could be a problem. Or maybe Alex Neil thinks, right, let's go with the 3. Let's play him, Casper and Billy. Maybe play Casper just ahead of him. Who knows? But if he's happy to stay, I'd be surprised if there isn't a place in the squad for him. Let's go with that.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you that. Disco, just anything you want to ask before I go into some more questions?
Interested, like double-barreled one, really, Karl. Do you ever suffer from nerves from commentating a big game? Sort of before it starts, are you nervous before the game? And there's something else I want to ask on that.
I think. Yeah, you do naturally. You get nervous, the same as you guys do as a fan. You get nervous when it's an important game. And so what I do to overcome those nerves beforehand is I will always start off the game. Don't know if you listen to my commentary regularly, but if you do, I always start off the same way so that I just ease myself into it. And I'll always say this with new commentators, the first paragraph or so is the most important in your whole commentary because you need to hit the ground running. So once you've got going, then it's fine. My commentary will always start the same. Say it was, I don't know, Millwall Charlton. It'll always be, good afternoon, welcome to the Den for today's Sky Bet Championship fixture between Millwall and Charlton. I'm Karl Bates, courtesy of BBC London and Millwall Television. Alongside me are these 3 and various people live on the chat. And today's fixtures, and then off you go. I always start that way because then you're off, you're talking, and then you've got the option whenever you've ran out of words or the fixture list or the team news, you then pass it over to Horny or Max. They stay there, but you then take a breath, take it all in, and off you go again.
Yeah. Okay.
But you kind of warmed yourself up, didn't you? You're slightly in, didn't you? Then love that.
You're confident of that opening. And then what about it's injury time? We're 1-0 up in a massive game. I'm shitting. No offense, I'm shitting myself. I can't even watch.
No offense, I'm the
either
same.
at the game or watching on telly. How do you keep your nerves intact? Because you're a fan as well. You're saying, really.
Yeah.
So how do you keep your nerves, or do you? How do you keep your nerves intact?
As I said, it's good that you can't see us. I am literally, I'm exactly the same as probably all the Millwall fans in the away end or sitting around me. The same, literally up and down like a loony, not looking, sort of looking, kind of looking. It's really hard. You just have to just keep going. I suppose you're just about keeping the fan and professional just the right way round. But yeah, it's not easy at all. Really
in a
hard.
way, I suppose you having to commentate on it helps in not having to think too much of the nerves in a way, because it's a bloody nightmare, isn't it? That pacing around and
exactly.
Watch. Yeah,
the time goes quicker because you're talking all the time and keeping an eye perhaps on your phone for all the other latest scores or how many minutes are going to be added on and so on and so on. So it does help keep your mind preoccupied with other things.
Brilliant. Thanks.
Excellent. Karl, I've got a couple of questions come through on the chat. Are there any players you've seen play against us within reason that you think could do well for us? Any standouts?
Good question. Just trying to think, in all honesty. There's certain players that always seem to do well against us when you come up against certain players. I mean, you looked at the Burnley side last game of the season. I thought they were very strong all over the park. They were so confident, annoyingly so, on the ball, and they stopped us getting possession. I mean, second half, we needed a goal and we couldn't get the ball for 20, 30 minutes. It was so frustrating to watch. We needed to get, we couldn't even create a chance to throw in a free kick. So any of their team would be, something else. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, typically. No. But, from that game, I mean, I think every player that there is a player or was a player at Coventry that was always very good against us, but I can't think who he was. Anyway, it'll come to me in about an hour. I'll have 10 of them.
You wouldn't agree with Big Dre last week, who thought we should go for Borgia Sainz.
A little bit out of our price range,
Correct.
Okay. Glenn Williams says, has Karl got any stories of the late Matty Sarkic and of course John Berrison? Any sort of fond memories you've ever had with them?
With Matty Sarkic, I'm not going to lie, I didn't really know him that well, apart from and hello. He was quite shy, quite a shy, timid bloke. But apart from pleasantries, saying hello or well played, that was about it. In regards to John would probably, I'd say, be the opposite, as in you didn't have to see him to know he was in a room. Sometimes he just had that sort of presence, that aura around him, and people naturally, you were just naturally drawn to him when he was there, and the way he spoke, he was just such a loving, kind. I don't know, you just felt his friend, even though you'd only met him for 30 seconds. He just naturally had you feel that way. He was an incredibly charismatic man, but not in a, I don't know, he was never a look at me type of person.
Like an arrogant or an egotistical person. Yeah. No.
You're from two different worlds, let's not kid ourselves. But in that moment, you're one of the same. And that's a hell of a quality to have, and a very hard quality to have as well.
Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Evening, Paul. Welcome, join us. Just, I guess, for yourself, a question behind the scenes, Karl. I know we're in the last 10 minutes. We're in the 80th minute at the moment. So last 10 minutes, lots can happen. Can you give us perhaps a bit of a glimpse behind the scenes on commentary? So, what's a typical game day look like for you before the game even kicks off? So, you're leaving your house, getting to the location, would be an away game or home game, and just sort of talk us through the day really before the actual kickoff comes.
Well, if it's a home game, I pick up this guy called Norm, who lives just down the road from me. He's a Millwall fan I met on the train once. There was one seat left on the train, and there was this little old fella sitting there reading the Millwall programme. So I sat next to him. How did you go to the game? Yes, flap, 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 flap. Found out he lived around the corner from us. He's in his 80s. He's had two hip operations, a minor stroke, but he goes to every single game, home and away.
Wow.
He travels Plymouth, he got the overnight train home. He watched the Plymouth game, got the overnighter back to London or whatever time it was, had his breakfast, went across to King's Cross, and then got the train back to Cambridge. So he does that all the time. He is absolute gem. Norm is, incredible fan. And so I'll always help him out and take him to the home games. So he gets round mine about 10, 10:15. We then drive to the Den. I walk in at about 12 o'clock because you need to be at the ground. And this is the same for away games. You get there 3 hours early. So you go get your stuff set up. You know the line's good. You know everything's working. It's just peace of mind. I see some commentators turn up late, don't understand it. Why give yourself the panic? So get that all set up. Normal sit in the car eating his back up. Give him the keys. Sometimes pop in the Millwall cafe for a cheeky bacon roll or something. So I'll then my job at the home games is to look after my equivalents. And so any of the opposition media that come along, I will take them around, show them this is where we go pitch side, do the interviews. This is where you'll be commentating from. This is where you need to do that, so on and so on. Then have a bit of food because Millwall said do a good lunch. You might get something like a lasagna or chili con carne, something along those lines. If I'm doing work for BBC London, I might go on air 2-ish just to do preview, team news, bit of a chat about the game. Then 2:15, I'll go and take my seat just so I can watch the two teams warming up. Because I suppose I'm a bit like Jurgen Klopp, as in the fact that I will stand and I'll watch the opposition warming up to confirm to my brain and team sheet, yes, they're lining up as a back four. Yep, he's fullback. He's centre half. Yep, fine, right. So I'll watch them warm up so I know who's playing where. Then, I said about 2:45 or whatever time it is, then go on air, do comms, half-time, Bovril, back again, do the commentary full time, go and interview the managers. If we're away from home, just wait for the guys because I'll travel up with Tonksy, the cameraman, and what have you. And then we head back. So it's a really long day. I mean, for a home game, I'll leave my house, as I say, 10 in the morning and 3 o'clock kickoff, and I won't get home till 7:30, something like that.
Wow.
So,
wow. That's incredible insight. I mean, I knew there'd be a lot, involved, but I didn't realize it was that much. So, but cheers for sharing that with us. Couple of more questions coming from the chat. This is Disco's mate, by the way. He lives up in Bolton with Disco.
Wigan. Wigan, Jeff is,
Oh, Wigan, is it? Okay. Yeah. So Jeff says, what was your view of the Liam Roberts-Mateta incident at the time, and in particular, Steve Knobhead Parrish's comments on TV at half time?
I thought that I was really let down. I thought by the BBC allowing him to do such a thing. That I've never in my life seen them allow the opposition chairman, owner, whatever he is, to just come on at halftime and slag off our goalkeeper, irrespective if, which he did not do, but if Liam had have intentionally tried to kick him in the face on purpose and was deservedly given a red card, etc., you still don't allow somebody just to come on and randomly spout off hatred against our goalkeeper. He should never have been allowed to. It escalated something to ridiculous proportions far too quickly. And it gave everybody an opportunity to get on the back of it and start writing reports, this, that, and the other. It was quite frankly ridiculous. And I think half the problem was, and I cannot, because BBC don't get many games, maybe they misread the situation and thought we can do something new here. We can get somebody on without realizing what was going to happen, and it unfolded in front of their eyes far too quickly, and it ended up. And I can't remember who it was. Somebody, I think it was Troy Deeney of all people, was in the commentary box at half time saying, "Oh, but his family would be there to watch that." And as we all know, Troy's no saint.
No saint, exactly. Yeah, you're right, absolutely.
So no, it was just dreadful. It wasn't. I can totally understand why he was sent off because of what happened. He got the ball first, but with what happened afterwards, the way his legs come up, totally understand that. I'm not arguing that that'd be ridiculous. Yes, he got the ball first, but we all saw what happened afterwards. But in regards to the manhunt, the witch hunt, whatever you want to call it, afterwards was just terrible. Should never have been able to happen.
You're absolutely spot on. Dave Clark just says, Karl, your nightmare away trip where you get home late due to traffic or weather, was ever a time when you think, oh my God, like you're back at sort of silly o'clock in the morning and weather's bad, raining, that sort of thing,
easy one, I suppose, springs to mind Pompey this season when the floodlights went out. That was
awful. I was there as well.
Yeah, because to start off with, we thought it was going to be some sort of light show. So when it all went off, and then when everybody went quiet, I just heard one of their media team goes, "Well, that normally don't happen." I thought, "Oh no."
So you're privileged to know that. Unlike us, we actually thought that was a light show. We were waiting for the music and everything else. Yeah. I know.
But Karl, am I right in saying if we play like Sunderland, I know they got promoted. If we played Sunderland on a Wednesday, would you stay overnight after the games instead of going back? Yeah,
like Plymouth, we stayed over. Some of them we did. We did Sunderland in a day because it was a 3 o'clock kickoff. But that was a long day. Yeah. But the good thing is, again, from where I live, you can get the train to Peterborough, and then it's a fast train up to Sunderland. But
and is that with the players? If the players stay over the hotel, you share with them as well. You stay with them, eat with them, all that stuff, I guess.
No, we don't. They have their own. They're in their own bubble. Sometimes we stay in the same hotel as them because it's cheaper to buy everything. Yeah. But what will often happen is, if we are playing away from home in an evening, the team will travel up probably the night before. They'll stay over, be up there for the day, maybe have a light training session or just a walk around and then go to the game, whilst we'll arrive at the hotel that afternoon and then we'd stay over and then we travel back. So we stay over on different nights. So after the Plymouth game, they'd get in the coach and go home while we'd stay at the hotel after the match and then travel back the next day.
I see. I understand. Yeah, I know what you mean. Excellent. Glenn Williams, as a commentator, do you have any silly superstitions that defy logic?
I'm not actually a superstitious person. I said the only thing I would say that I do is I always start the same, as in just to reel myself in. As you saw heard just a moment ago, I just naturally reel off the same lines just to get myself flowing. But as to wearing lucky socks or anything like that, no. Because if it worked, then the world you'd be the richest man alive. Oh, I'm going to put the lottery on, so I better turn around 3 times, do this.
Yeah,
and then
it works every time. Yeah, exactly.
If only we could all think logically like that. Goodness me.
Yeah,
I know exactly. There you go, Glenn. I hope that answers your question. B Lion, Karl, don't you look like I imagine he would look like? He sounds much older than he looks. Yeah. Always talking about Bovril.
well, I don't know how. I mean, I'm 48. I'll be 49 next month. So I don't know if that was where you thought I would look or what.
You look very good for your age. Yeah.
No, but Bovril is Bovril's a football drink. Disco will back me up. Bovril is your football drink. That's what you have to have. If you go to football, you have to have Bovril. I mean, I go and watch my local side, Soham, when Millwall aren't playing. And bless them, they get Bovril in just for me because they didn't have any to start with. I went in and I didn't have any, so they got me some for the next game. So,
brilliant! Love that. Love that. Excellent. One more question here from Flacky or Flatchy 32. Seen any decent keepers, Karl? We need 2 at the moment.
No, we do, don't we? There was the good keeper, the one at Rotherham. Was always the one with the beard. I can't remember what his name is.
Johansson.
Oh, he was great. Yeah.
Very good goalkeeper.
He went to Stoke. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He went to Stoke, didn't he? Yeah.
Loved to have got him. He was a very good keeper.
Oh,
he is a very good keeper.
Yeah. So, how well did you this season, Jesper? I know you keep tabs on a lot of these players.
How he's been doing, Victor Johansson.
Yeah.
I don't know. Actually, I don't think he's got so great reviews as he did at Rotherham, but I don't know if it was because Rotherham they simply faced so many shots when he played for Rotherham. They conceded an awful amount of goals, but he was still one of their best players. And fair enough, he was
their player of the year, weren't he? At Rotherham, they went down, didn't they?
Yeah. I remember many fans saying that we should have gone for him, and rightly so. But
I think he had a mixed season like Stoke. I think. He's let a few in, didn't they? But he had some great games on telly. He made some great saves. He's a good keeper, like Karl says.
Yeah, he is.
Definitely. Okay. Right, we're approaching the 90-minute mark, guys. So we're soon be heading to injury time. Alex says, Karl, I remember your win on the Grand National and why you backed that horse. Very touching moment. I don't know if you can. Are you able to share that with us a little bit?
Yeah, no, of course. I think the horse was called. I think it was Nick Rocket. And my uncle Nick sadly died of motor neurone disease last year, and it was horrific to watch. I mean, I was very close to him. He lived just over the road. We saw them 2-3 times a week, He was my best mate, simple as that. And to see him go through that was just awful. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And it was really hard on my son, who's still struggling to come to terms with it. And so I backed Nick Rocket for the obvious reasons, as I think a lot of people back national horses because of those sort of things. So backed Nick Rocket. Was just had it on my phone just to come up as an update who'd won it. And so that did choke me up a bit at the time. But
love that. Love that.
Yeah, no, it was good. Good win. Financially as well.
Yeah, no, very, very much so.
Yeah, 33-1. Fantastic.
Yeah. Chris Brown says, Karl, do you practice saying complicated long names or do you just wing it?
Well, here's a trick of the trade, Chris. What we do is my equivalent, so whoever's doing the commentary for, say, I don't know, Blackburn, Burnley, whoever, if we've got any complicated names within our teams, we will say, how do you pronounce so-and-so? They'll quite often ask how you pronounce Idamo's last name or Tanganga or so. And so I'll ask the same of them. And then what I do is on my computer, I will write them out phonetically so I can just read as it stands. So, so I do practice or however you want to class it as. But before I go on, I know how to pronounce them.
Yeah, I guess that's a regular thing where everyone's kind of on board with that and everyone does that before each game. Do you find?
Yeah, there's no point. You get used to people. You're almost doing the circuit, if you know what I mean. You know, when I go to Middlesbrough, Mark, I've known for years through commentating and various things. So you look out for each other, and there's no point trying to be discreet because you will probably need something with them. So what's the point? It all helps. So
which makes you laugh.
So you didn't speak to Sky when they were calling Idamo Emaku.
No.
That's what I was going to say.
Remember that?
Now, if I ever listen to commentary and they get the names completely wrong, I go, Karl hasn't spoken to them. They haven't asked Karl how you pronounce their names.
No, didn't ask the question.
Okay, so we're deep into injury time at the moment, Karl. Who's your commentator hero?
I'd say probably Brian Moore because that was the voice I grew up listening to. You know, with I suppose Italia 90. And Euro 96 and things like that. I think it was Italia 90, for example, when Stuart Pearce missed the penalty. It was like, Pearce saved. Oh no, you know, that sort of just explained just the whole. It was the way he just like the whole of England just went, oh no, as it just like, oh, it's gone. So very good.
Just closing off now because obviously we're coming to the 90-minute into injury time, like I said. Before we end off with you guys, just one question for myself is what's next for you, Karl, in regards to your commentary career? You know, what opportunities, what future plans do you see yourself in the next sort of 5-10 years, I guess?
In all honesty, I'm very, very, I'm going to sound cliched. I sound like a footballer now. I'm very happy where I am.
You definitely hang around a lot of these players, didn't you? Yeah.
I am. I'm more than that. I'm very happy to become the new Dino in staying at Millwall for 15, 20 years. More.
That's great.
So no plans to go.
That's great to hear. Fantastic.
I have to say, it's fantastic that we have only had two commentators in almost 34 years, because I believe Dino started in 91 and you came in around 2017. So that is actually quite remarkable. So very, very well done, Karl, I have to say.
There's a question here from Colin Taylor. So, Karl, are you going to take over from the old bye for now when he goes?
No. You retire that statement when he does, because that's all his. No, far too good for me with that one.
And then Paul just said, just want to say thank you to Karl for being so good to my Lily on her journey into sports journalism. There you go. That's from Paul Llewellyn.
More than welcome, and if you need anything else, just let me know.
That's lovely. Excellent.
That was good this year when you had the youngsters commentating. I don't know if that was Lily that he's talking about, but when you had the youngsters commentating, it was really good, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah, they are funny. It is like, again, it's like having you mentioned about having a fan with you. You've got a younger fan with you. And on days like that, you just literally go, here's the mic, here's the buttons, go for it. I'll work around you today. This is your day. Yeah, go for it.
Excellent. Brilliant.
So just back to was that the Swansea game? We had a fan on with the game we won 1-0. Did we have
a young girl? Was there a young girl on there, I think?
There was one we won. I can't remember if it was the Swansea game. There was one where we had a young lad on there, and we scored up in front of the north stand. Can't remember who it was. Went down the left, hit it hard into the corner,
and he found his dad, didn't he? In the stand.
Was it Obafemi got the goal? Oh, I can't remember. Anyway,
it was Obafemi against Swansea, wasn't it? I think it was. Yeah.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and he just went for it, and that was just a case of sitting back in the building while he just carried on. So
brilliant, excellent. So I think that's it from us, guys. Jesper, anything you want to say before we say goodbye to our listeners?
No, just thanks for being on, and great to see Karl in real person. It's when I since I've been a fan for the last 25 years, it's always been sort of audio until around, I can't remember when we introduced EFL, this I Follow video. I think it was around 2020 maybe. So it's always been audio for me. So it's been Dino for 17 years, and Karl came in, and I do think that you have sort of a similar voice, because I did remember thinking, have we got a new commentator, or is it still Dino commentating? And that must be around 2017. And I had to look it up, and I thought, no, it's actually Karl Bates now. So yeah, there's definitely something to it. But really good to have you on, Karl. Nice to meet you. And maybe I'll see you at the Den one day. I'll always try and come over once or twice a year to see Millwall. So well, thank you.
When you come over, let us know in advance, and I'll give you a show behind the scenes. Have a quick wander around before the game.
Nice.
You're over in August, aren't you?
Yeah, I am, for the first home game. So celebrating my 40th birthday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're in the exec lounge, aren't you, that day, I think?
I hope to be in the hospitality area, for my birthday, yeah.
Nice.
Well, you're not far from us then, so by all means pop through and say hello.
Yeah,
brilliant. Thanks. Disco, anything you want to say before we wrap up?
No, listen, really enjoyed it, Karl. Thanks for coming on and sharing. I think the key is tonight, it feels like you've been really open and honest, and I guess you could be a little bit closed because you've got connections with the club, etc. And not saying there's anything too controversial we've asked you, but you've really given us a great, the word's been used there by some of the listeners, a real great insight into how it all works and your preparation. We sit back and listen to you commentating, and you think, no offence, a bit like me turning up on an evening on a Tuesday, Joe, 5 minutes before we kick off, or a minute before, and away we go. And,
the kids
Karl's doing 3 hours before, absolutely proper professional. But look, thanks for coming on tonight and sharing with us, your insights. It's been really, really good. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks.
No, more than welcome. Enjoyed it.
Fantastic. And from me, Karl, just want to say thanks again for joining us, to give up your time so generously. Absolutely loved you on tonight. And like Disco said, you're very open and honest with us. And I'm sure the fans listening and watching will feel exactly the same way. You had massive boots to fill with Dino standing. And me personally, I think you filled them and more. You've been fantastic. You're definitely the voice of Millwall commentary now. So thank you very much, guys. Make sure you continue to follow the commentary with Karl's work. Disco, do you want to say something? Sorry, before we go?
Sorry, Joe. And I know you're going to finish off with the subscribers. I just wonder, could you do us one last really big favour, Karl, for the start of next season? Can you ask Norm to subscribe to Chat with Chats, please?
Yes.
And
we want to get Norm on. Let's get Norman alive.
Oh, you should. Alive. He'll probably class this as some sort of witchcraft. And
I bet he's got some stories over the years, isn't he? I bet
he's great to listen to. Just hearing how he gets to some of the games all by himself, tootling along. Yeah. He's an incredible guy. Really is.
Well, hopefully we'll meet him before a game and have a bovril with him, Disco, before one game. But anything you want to say? To Karl, to the Mill fans before we wrap up and say goodbye?
Just thank you for all your questions, and I've just seen a couple of the nice comments down the side. I'm glad I do you proud as the Millwall commentator and enjoy doing it. It's great being associated with the club. I genuinely class us as Millwall family. The club does a hell of a lot behind the scenes for everybody, as I said myself, with my epilepsy charity, with the work we do with the community centre, the food hub, the things that never get mentioned on the television that should. So no, it doesn't matter what other people say. We know we're good. Let's go with that.
I agree. That's brilliant. Love that. Thank you so much again, Karl. Thank you so much. Look forward to hearing you commentating next season, and enjoy the rest of your summer. And on behalf of all of us, thank you very, very much. And that's it from us. Bye from me, and bye for everyone else. Take care, guys.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Hi, it's Steve Morrison here, and you're listening to Chat with Chaps, chatting Millwall, come rain or shine.